Hello, I'm Cade Tompkins, and welcome to Art 10, where we have 10 minutes of time with an artist, curator, or collector. And today I'm so thrilled to welcome Bob Dilworth here, and we're in front of your magnificent painting. Thanks, Bob, for joining us.
And thank you for inviting me.
It's so great to have you here. Bob graduated from the Rhode Island School of Design, and you came up from rural Virginia, a little town called Lawrenceville, at age 17. You must have been a child prodigy. You must have been drawing your whole entire youth. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I remember actually getting sent out of elementary school class for drawing naked women, but I thought that was those were the pictures I saw in the art book.
Your training at RISD obviously was rigorous, and you had great teachers, one assumes, and did you go straight through as a painting major?
I went straight through as a painting major. I was part of the study abroad program, so I spent my last year in Europe, mostly in Italy, and I came back, spent a year traveling. I went west and lived in New Mexico for 9 months and traveled to California, Arizona, and then decided to go to graduate school and ended up in Chicago. I applied also to the Maryland Institute College of Art because I wanted to work with Grace Hartigan. While I was at RISD, Grace Hartigan came to visit several times, and we kind of connected. You know, she critiqued my work. I of course liked her. How do you not like Grace Hartigan? And she was running, I think she was head of the painting program at the time, so I wanted to go there, but I got into the Maryland Institute College of Art, and I got into the School of Art Institute in Chicago. The difference is that School of Art Institute in Chicago gave me a full scholarship, but what happens, I got to Chicago and ended up liking it there.
Absolutely. And didn't you stay for quite a while?
I stayed there for 17 years.
Yeah. You showed with some very interesting female black art dealers in Chicago. I noted that are no longer art gallerists, but tell me about your relationship with those women. I showed with Isabel Neal and Nicole Smith, and they were both incredible. I think far ahead of their time. Yeah. My experience in Chicago would have been totally different without them. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And the relationship between dealer and artist is so important, as we know.
Yeah.
So your earlier work that predates the work that we're exhibiting now, the beautiful Maria. Your earlier work is what I would call more strictly formal and figurative. And then you moved into a new body of work that I find just elating and beautiful. And Grace Hartigan, it's interesting that you mention her because it's almost as though you're returning to pure abstraction. Tell me what you were thinking about when you went from the figurative work to the figure enshrined in your paintings.
One thing was going on when I arrived in Chicago, and one of the reasons why I didn't really abandon the figurative work, but I understood that there were still a lot of things I did not know about painting.
The painting we're standing in front of is called Maria. Is this a person that you know well?
Maria is a person I know very well. She is of Cape Verdean descent, and the painting is. I asked her to. She's a very beautiful woman, and I asked her to pose for me. To model for me, and she came with this traditional Cape Verdean dress that she made. It's made from the togu fabric, which originates in the Cameroon, and it's very textured, and it has this sort of relief design on it. But she made it into this dress, and it was just so inspiring. You might have noticed that there are a lot of spirals in the painting, and so that was a part of the design of the togu fabric.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we note that you have started to incorporate textiles, and I understand that the textiles are from people that you know and love dearly, and that maybe some of their life is imbued in the textile, and then you've created this overlay. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I recognized over the time that the town was sort of diminishing. People were leaving. The older generation were passing away. And what I decided to do was to interview, friends and family, and record their stories before all this institutional knowledge, all of the memories were gone.
I love the way that you took that journey and you didn't know where you were going with it, and it told you what to do.
Yeah.
I noticed that in another painting, another two paintings, one is called Blue. Again, you're depicting a figure, but a double figure. Can you address that twinning going on within the painting of one person but two visions of them?
What I wanted to do is I double up and sometimes use the same figure many times, 3 or 4 or 5 times, creating a grouping of the same subject or the same person. It had a lot to do with different personalities within the same person. I wanted to portray this idea of multiple personalities of that person.
Yes, I think you're 100% successful with that, because as a viewer just looking for the first time at these wonderful paintings of these double portraits, triple portraits, you get the sense that there's many different ways of looking at something from the same angle, different angle, and many different aspects of people's lives happening almost simultaneously. So you've really hit that, I think.
There is a spiritual being also that resides behind the face, within the body. So and so the design and the patterns become alive in that sense, and the patterns are playing off of each other, that there's a tension between the two. So the story, the narrative, is really central to much of my work. And I used to resist that. I mean, as an abstract painter, sometimes you think that there is no narrative, or that the narrative is secondary to everything else that's going on. But I had to at some point come to terms with that, and that is, my work is narrative. And I want to tell the stories. And I think those stories are very, very important.
Very exciting work, Bob. And thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for joining us and considering contemporary art and the art of our own time.